All right, everyone, it is the moment you have all been waiting for when Rising reveals our official list of the week's winners and losers. Saagar, who's your loser?
Well, broken record over here. I'm pretty sure I've had this like every single time since we've done this. This is working people. Look, stimulus negotiations, 18 days to go until the election. Steve Mnuchin says just yesterday, I do not see a deal that could come materialize. Mitch McConnell, though, is the one who really put a nail in the coffin here. He said that he's going to put another $500 billion. Yes, $500 billion. So 1/4 of what the White House is proposing back on the floor. He was asked explicitly, is there basically any enthusiasm whatsoever for the White House number? He said, me and my members, we're quite clear. $500 billion is about where we go. So there you go. So that is 1/4 of what the White House is proposing. It includes no stimulus checks, a modest increase in unemployment, basically PPP. Can you imagine how inadequate that is right now? It's insane. And as I've said here, if Pelosi was smart, she would take the White House deal and then let all of this fall on the Senate Republicans.
Yeah.
And then you want to talk about real electoral bloodbath? If they reject that deal outright a couple of days before the election, there it is. But she's dumb. She's actually protecting them. She really is.
Yeah.
And I just can't believe it. And I will never forget the human cost here. And these are the people who really matter. Millions and millions and millions of people on unemployment, millions at the brink of financial precarity. The coronavirus cases are going up. It's beginning to get cold. Many thousands of restaurants are going to go close and go out of business forever. And the amount of time that it takes to bring those back, as we learned in 2008, sometimes it does come back, but underemployed, unemployed, people drop out of the workforce, people do drugs, people drink. A lot of deaths of despair have increased, fertility rates all-time low, wealth generation for younger Americans. You can't forget what you're doing to people.
That's exactly right. 8 million more people have fallen into poverty since May, since the end of the initial stimulus. The New York Times has a graphic up this morning that shows the way that this is actually data from thousands of savings accounts, anonymized savings account, that shows basically for unemployed people after that, this is like not rocket science, but after that $600 plus up ended, their savings accounts just fall off a cliff. And that's where they are today, on the brink of financial oblivion. And I can't believe that we're in a position where like Steve Mnuchin ended up being kind of the best actor.
He was the good guy, yeah.
He ended up, being the best actor in all of this, which is outrageous. But yeah, no heroes really all around. My loser this week, something we've been talking a lot about, is Twitter. Yep. Because they really blew it big time on this New York Post Hunter Biden story, which was headed to be not that big of a deal, this story. People weren't really paying that much attention to it. Nothing that bombshell in it. They published these photos, which were gross installations and shouldn't have been published. But the meat of the story was more emails from Hunter about his Ukrainian business dealings. And yeah, they're gross. And it's a legitimate news story. And it sort of fills in the colors and the lines of what we already knew. But Twitter has this insane, over-the-top reaction of not even allowing people to tweet out the link or DM the link, shutting down accounts of people like Jake Sherman at Politico and Kayleigh McEnany, the White House press secretary, over sharing this content, lose their minds completely, end up drawing way more attention to the story, making it one of the biggest stories in the country, when it should not have, ultimately wasn't going to get all that much attention. Then Jack comes out and says, we screwed up. But then they double down the next day, and then they reverse. The next iteration of the New York Post story, they continue to treat that way. And then finally, last night, they reversed course. But ultimately, why are they the big loser? Because now you have Chairman Pai at the FCC basically saying, look, we're going to come in, we're going to clarify what Section 230, which gives them legal immunity to not be treated like a publisher. And you have demonstrated to a lot of people who may have been skeptical before just why this kind of censorship is really, really dangerous from an organization, a company that is as powerful as Twitter.
They brought this upon themselves, and that actually brings me to my winner, which is censorship. And you know what? not a lot of people spoke out. I will say, Glenn Greenwald did. I mean, obviously you did, and some others on the left. But in general, silence. I did not see the mainstream media really come out for Twitter against Twitter's decision here, because they fundamentally agree that a lot of this stuff should be censored.
What I saw is a lot of mainstream journalists being like, I'm sorry, I shared the link.
That actually happened. So when Jake Sherman, who is, the reporter, Politico Playbook, a very powerful reporter, he tweeted, he's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to spread disinformation. I was like, what? It's not disinformation. It's a story. And you did your job by sharing that story, asking the Biden campaign for comment, and then including that comment in your newsletter. That's called an act of journalism. Congratulations for doing that. Nobody should impede your ability to do so. That's what we have. We have a now press corps which celebrates censorship, which actively got Facebook and Twitter to pursue these types of actions. I don't know where the hell they are living when they think that this is the type of thing that we should go about. But to your loser point, they stepped in it, because now they've awoken the beast.
Yeah.
They really have.
And we saw other weird things too, like Maggie Haberman with the New York Times tweeted out this story just as like, hey, here's the thing that came out, and people lost their minds about that. MAGA Haberman was trending on Twitter because they were so mad that she's like doing the Trump campaign's bidding. I mean, and then there was the whole flap at NBC over having a town hall, daring to have a town hall with President Trump. Rachel Maddow comes out after the fact and is like, let's just be clear. That was an NBC News production, not an MSNBC production. Did you see all of this?
Oh,
so
of course.
There's just this deep instinct now, which I think just putting the like moral or ethical principle piece aside is completely counterproductive in liberal mainstream discourse. Rather than engaging and having confidence that you'll win the argument, just trying to shut it down. Yeah. It doesn't work. And that's what this Hunter Biden situation really proved. In fact, it had the opposite effect. It called way more attention to the story than it ever would have gotten otherwise. My winner this week, this will probably never repeat, Wolf Blitzer. The story of the week to me was the stimulus, as you said, ultimately incredibly depressing story. Mnuchin in the White House put this $1.8 trillion deal on the table. Not a perfect deal, but solid and a lot better than what people are going to get otherwise. Pelosi has completely stonewalled. The thing that she points to is the contact tracing language from the House HEROES Act that the Dems passed. And there was actually some indication that Mnuchin was open to that, including that language anyway, but she's still not going along with it. One journalist, Wolf Blitzer, decided to actually press her on this issue, and she came off looking terrible. Let's take a look at that.
Yeah, you evidently do not respect the chairman of the committees who wrote these bills.
I respect
and
all of you.
I wish you would respect the knowledge that goes into getting meeting the needs of the American people. But again, you've been on a jag defending the administration all this time with no knowledge of the difference between our two bills. And I thank you for giving me the opportunity to say that to you in person.
Right. Madam Speaker, these are incredibly difficult times right now, and we'll leave it on that note. Thank you so much for joining us.
We'll leave it on the vote that you are not right on this, Wolf, and I hate to say that to you. But I feel confident about it, and I feel confident about my colleagues, and I feel confidence in my chairs.
And it's not about me. It's about millions of Americans who can't put food on the table, who can't pay the rent.
And we represent them. And we represent them.
Getting by these long food lines that we're seeing. I know you are.
We know them.
I'm just saying.
We represent them, and we know them.
As we say,
we know them. We represent them.
Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good, as they say here in Washington.
It is nowhere near perfect.
Madam Speaker.
Always the case, but we're not even close to the good.
All right.
I mean, the imperiousness and the condescension from her, and she is so stunned and shocked and outraged to even have to answer a question about her tactics here. To me, it was incredibly revealing and incredibly important moment this week.
Yeah, it really, that tells you everything you need to know. Should they want to let the country burn? They want to let you suffer? All for politics, and you can't forgive that.
Next week on Rising, D.C. correspondent for The Nation, Ken Klippenstein, is going to join us, and many other friends of the show will be here as well.
That's right. Remember to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of our videos. Don't forget to like and share as well, and we will see you guys next week.
Have a wonderful weekend, guys.